Breaking news. We can now confirm that the U.S. and Iranian negotiators have reached an agreement on a 60-day memorandum of understanding to extend the ceasefire and launch larger negotiations on Iran's nuclear program. This is significant. Sources are telling us that it is now awaiting Trump's final approval, and the signing of this agreement would be the most significant breakthrough since the war started. But a final agreement that addresses Trump's nuclear demands would still require further talks. So this is a memorandum of understanding. It's significant. And Harris, I spoke to a senior administration official at length Sunday, and they were emphatic, saying no dust, no deal. So if they've reached this, you would think that there's a deal on the dust, the enriched uranium.
Well, I don't know, because what you just said, and by the way, Axios had this a couple of hours ago, and I don't know how many other networks, I still hadn't really seen it break. We all needed to confirm this for ourselves. And so now that Fox has done that, we're talking about it in more detail now. But I don't know if it deals with the uranium that's been enriched and whether or not we take it out of that country, leave it in the ground, what kind of a deal would be worked around. The president has said that if we don't deal with that aspect, then it's not a good deal for the United States. What this to me is about is that Strait of Hormuz. I mean, that's what this is telling me. And because it's a 60-day ceasefire, and we're not that far into this one, right? We're about 55 days or so into this one. So it's almost doubling the time that anybody might have thought we would have done it. And this is about money and resources. They had to open up their internet a couple of days ago in Iran. They are getting crushed economically. They do a lot of commerce. Well, all of our countries do online. They weren't able to do that. That was not, by the way, for giving the citizenry more freedom on the internet. No. They can't move anything out of their Iranian ports because of the U.S. blockade. So they got to try to do business a different way. And Marcus, I see you nodding at me. This comes down to money. And we're taking that real live look of ships that are waiting to kind of get through the Strait of Hormuz, what that could look like. If this loosens up oil, remember, UAE just pulled out of OPEC and OPEC Plus. They could flood the market with some oil. We know that we are able to process the crude, the tough crude coming out of Venezuela. Our ports are ready to go along the Gulf Coast. This could be a huge impact in the oil industry, bring down prices pretty quickly and flood the market with oil. I think it's really interesting. I don't know, though. They just tried to hit one of our bases in Kuwait, and Kuwait had to, intercept that Iranian missile. I don't know if they can sit pat. We know the ceasefire has already been pretty shaky.
Marcus, let me read you a quote from this senior official. This is what they said. This was Sunday. We have a deal on the nuclear stockpile. We have a deal on the Strait of Hormuz, but we are negotiating language. There's not a deal until there is a deal. And they said it'd be 5, 6, or 7 days. This tracks with that, and it would be monumental.
It tracks with it, but it's still not a deal yet. And I think that's important. And when you look at one thing that I always want to remind everybody, we went to Iran because we have a zero-tolerance policy for nuclear weapons.
Right.
But we are at a point where the economic crisis is starting to brew a little bit. Inflation came out this morning at 3.2, 3.3. That's problematic. Energy seems to be stabilizing a little bit. Oil dropped a little bit this morning. But when you look at what that strait does to boats, to baskets, to balance sheets, to a lot of different things, consumers are starting to really feel it. And in the summer, we know that oil prices go a lot higher just because demand is a lot higher. I think this is a perfect balance of we don't need to blow people up. We need to get money flowing, and we need a period of time to negotiate how that's going to work. I think this is classic textbook Trump negotiation.
You know, and a lot can happen in 60 days. We've seen Iran acting out. Also remaining to be seen, President Trump said he was demanding Saudi Arabia and these other Gulf states join the Abraham Accords. Yeah. Does that happen?
Yeah, and I thought that was very interesting when he announced that, because he's adding a new layer to things. When people were worried, what's going to happen with this? Is President Trump on his back foot? He's saying, no. Yesterday, I thought it was very interesting when he said, and it was a message to both the Iranians in charge of their government right now and Americans, saying they think they're putting pressure on me with the midterms. No, I feel like this is not just a legacy building moment for President Trump. It's more than that. It is about international security. So it's not just about, another election cycle. It's about our children and our children's children and our overall safety. So we do await details on what this deal actually means and what is actually being reached. But just from a 30,000-foot view here, You know, there's this constant narrative, and I see it every single day, that the Iranians have somehow have the upper hand here, when they have absolutely no leadership class. Their navy is at the bottom of the Strait of Hormuz. They have no air force, minus some, small drones that they can use. And that's basically their attack force right now. And the internet being turned on has given us another level of insight into the fact that the Iranian government is also facing internal pressure. Remember that part of this whole war was started, and at the beginning of it, we were thinking that maybe the Iranian people could rise up and take things over themselves. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's certainly not off the table. If you read some of the messages saying that they feel like prisoners, that they are deeply upset with their own government, and speaking out about it in the face of public hangings that are happening right now is something to be seen.
They have to be armed.
Yeah, no doubt. And
citizenry that's not armed.
Rosanna, if you zoom out 30,000-foot view here, if in fact you do have countries like Saudi Arabia and others join the Abraham Accords, if you do have a deal on the nuclear uranium, this would shift the balance of power in the Middle East. It would be a legacy-defining moment for this presidency.
I think that's what everybody is hoping for around the world. And let's face it, Americans, we want peace. And the president promised that he was going to wrap this up quickly. So let's hope that everybody gets on board and we have something going forward.
They want peace, but they want prosperity.
And they want safety.
And the Strait is an economic warfare choke point. And I think the president is balancing out, how do I take care of my citizens and give them prosperity? And how do I provide world peace? And how do I balance those two? And this particular statement today makes it feel like he understands that balance.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.